What's up, guys? Coach B here. Crazy day for Clove. We went green again by about 8 cents, almost a full percentage point. But at one time during the peak of the day, I think we hit upwards of like 8.49, 8.50 ish. So almost another 35 cents. We were up, but we lost near the close. But I'll get into that in a second. First, I want to pull up the 1 day chart here, and let's see. All right, there we go. First thing I want to point out on the daily, and I'll zoom into this just so we could see it a little bit closer. But we touched below $8 again today, and continue to close above eight. But this is actually the eighth time since July 15th that we've done so, and we've continued each time. I drew this $8 line in here, but we fell down on July 15th and continued to do so 8 more times, and every single time we were able to close the stock above $8. To me, we found the bottom, and it's time to start seeing a reverse of that downward trend that we've been in. The MACD just crossed over to green, which is, somewhat of a bullish signal. RSI sitting at about 39, which is still closer to oversold, but it's moving up, and things are starting to look like we're going in the right direction. So here we have the 5-minute chart, and as you can see, right off the open, the stock kind of got hammered down. We got down to about 798 before turning things around, ripping through VWAP, getting up here, and then it looks like the stock kind of held this 9 EMA, and then again held some support at about the 21 EMA, and just started like slowly kind of stair stepping throughout the day, bouncing up, and then we finally came up here and hit 850. I want to say twice. And right before power hour, really started seeing this downward push. But that was pretty much market wide. I mean, if anyone was paying attention to the market, we saw a sell off almost across the entire market. A lot of the memes were down today. A lot of other stocks were down today. And, Clove held strong. We held green at 0.99. If we look at after hours, which I think just came to a close a little while ago, we ended up finishing the day at 8:15. We finished in after hours around 8:25, 8:24. So still moving in the right direction. I think this had more to do with the market and probably just market manipulation and sell-offs, which we'll get to in a second. Now, we did see some increase in borrowed shares today on Ortex and iBorrowDesk. Cost to borrow went up. Estimated short interest went up. But honestly, I think we're beyond those numbers now. This stock's being heavily manipulated, and it's blatantly obvious. Two big things I noticed today, and if you're following the same people I am on social media, you probably saw them as well. But the first one was the FTDs for the first half of July were released today. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, but the interesting numbers were basically July 8th, 19 million FTDs. July 9th, 12 million. July 12th, 11 million, and then July 14th, 141,000. So again, 19 million on July 8th, okay, and all the way down to 141K on July 14th, basically in less than a week. So during which time, while 19 million FTDs were supposedly returned, the price fell from roughly $9.36 to $8.67. How's this happen? Well, first, I'd recommend watching a couple of my Chalk Talks if you're unfamiliar with some of the stuff that's going on, and I'll link the videos. I made a video about what an FTD is, if you're wondering that. Also made a video about kind of how naked shorting works, and the other video I'd say to really check out is the one I did on dark pool manipulation, just so you can kind of get an idea of how they can get around this. And you know what? Just watch them all. But no, seriously, how do you get from 19 million shares returned without any sort of upward movement in price? Well, there's no way to entirely know exactly what happened, but my guess would likely be buys in the dark pool, okay, that basically pass the FTD burden onto the market makers that will then just kick the can down the road and attempt to cover at a lower price, once we get the stock going a little bit lower, or if they're able to. Or through rehypothecation, which is too much to get into for this video, but Tarheel Blue put out an interesting explanation on how that works a while back. If you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. The next thing I want to show you is something that, my boy By the F and Dip, a.k.a. Wall Street Bet Degenerate, a.k.a. Fresh Prince of Wall Street Bet, sent out a screenshot of it today, and that was the time and sales on his Schwab. Let me pull that up. Okay, so if you take a look here, you could see that there was a print to the tape right here, and this was right near the close at $8.15 for 1.1 million, or 1,168,875. And almost no movement in the price. Okay, so whether this was a buy or a sell, you would imagine that the price would move tremendously with a 1.1 million order. This screams dark pool to me. However, it's showing that it came in on the NASDAQ, which is a little bit weird to me too. Like, as you can see here, some of these, what you're looking at here is the exchanges that they came through, and this is reporting a 1.1 million share order that came in on the NASDAQ but didn't move the price. So I could be wrong here, but my assumption is this order was routed directly to the exchange and taken on as a naked short from a market maker. Basically, the market maker sold shares, that they didn't own, and just took on that buy order so that it wouldn't affect the stock price, and then they'll end up putting it in as a failure to deliver down the road, which will have to eventually be covered, but it just didn't affect the price action today. The only other explanation I can come up with is if a market maker actually had those shares in their possession, buy order comes in, and they actually sell shares out of their own possession. But either way, that seems fishy. I mean, and it could be a sell order too, but to me, 1.1 million on a stock that's been kind of rising throughout the day could be, a short seller that was shorting this stock down to get it down right before the close, and now they come in to cover, and obviously this buy pressure of 1.1 million didn't move the stock, so something's wrong there. So I bet the biggest question you have, are probably asking, is what happens to these FTDs? Do they just go away? The simple answer is no. Regardless of what type of manipulation was done with this 1.1 million order that came in this afternoon, or those FTDs with which I don't even think were covered from July 8th, it's just getting pushed out further and kicked down the road, which is going to cause more problems later as this share price increases. So, it's like, even if you create these FTDs, and then when the FTDs come back up, if all of a sudden you could figure out a way to act like you covered them, you still owe those shares to the clearinghouse. They still have to come back at some point. So, and as the price gets higher and higher, it's going to make it harder and harder for them to end up going in and buying those shares back to deliver. So either way, I know I've been going on for a while. Last thing I wanted to cover is the options chain. Max pain for this week was sitting at 850 this morning. That could change throughout the week based on what kind of volume comes in and all that. But first, let's take a look at TRADYTICS. So the first thing I want to cover is, coming into today with the options data that was available from last week, we saw the same kind of gamma squeeze potential in here where, calls really start outweighing puts at around the $9 strike. And, without getting too much into it, 47,000 calls versus 10,000 puts at the $9 strike, 66,000 calls versus 28,000 puts at the 10, 27,000 versus 4,000. Get over to some of these bigger numbers, 76,000 at $15 versus 8,000. So things really start heating up after $9 with the calls outweighing puts, and the craziest thing about this is it's not in one chain. It's not like if it doesn't happen this week, okay, it's over. I mean, this is just the entire chain absolutely loaded up week after week, month after month. This potential for this gamma squeeze exists. Some of the larger orders that came in today, there wasn't a ton of necessarily large orders, but we did see some. What is this here? The $10 strike, the $10 strike, $10 strike, 850 and 9. Most of these were kind of looked like they were beyond the August 20th. These weren't on the weeklies, and then we won't really know, how much the other volume that came in today is really going to affect the chain, but we can go ahead and take a look at it. So without going through the entire option chain, the big ones that I noticed today, this week, August 6th, a ton of volume in here, 13,000, 9,000, 6,000, 7,000. And these are already heavily, calls outweighing puts at certain strike prices. So if these are all buys or the majority buys, we'll start to see this load up like it has been every other week and really give us that gasoline to fuel the fire if we're able to get this stock to push past 9, push past 10, and so on. So that was August 6th. And the other big one that I saw was August 20th. Little bit like further out strikes. We saw some volume at the 9, volume at the 10, but then a lot of it pick up at 1250, 14. And if you go through and look through the entire chain, you'll notice that basically this entire chain is absolutely loaded. It has been for quite some time. And all it's going to take is that little push to get us to 9, to get us to 10, maybe to get us to 11. And at that point, the option chain has the potential to really carry us, like blast us off all the way to 43. It doesn't have to be this week. That's the beauty of this setup right here, is that if it doesn't happen this week, it could happen, next week. It could happen next month, but it's primed and ready and the opportunity's there. Okay, so that's it for tonight. A lot of manipulation. Option chain is still loaded up. Earnings is right around the corner. These FTDs are going to absolutely come back to bite them in the ass. It's just going to be a matter of time. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please hit the like and subscribe button. It'll really help out the channel. And be sure to check me out every morning, 30 minutes before the market opens. I usually stream for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's 6 a.m. on the West Coast, 9 a.m. on the East Coast. Have a lot of fun, talk stocks, look at CLOV, look at some other stocks, sometimes find potential plays, but really it's just it's a lot of fun. So hopefully I can see you there. Have a good night.